9, just like I have it written out here on my screen. I can look at my numbers that end in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and those are numbers that are going to round down. And numbers that end in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, they're going to round up. So when I look at my problem, round 4,739 to the nearest 100, I look at it and I think, okay, where's my nearest 100? 100 is my 7 right here. And so then I look at the digit beforehand. I look at my 3, and this is the one where I need to look at it and think, where does it fall on my number line? So 3 falls on my number line right here, and it falls on the lower half of the number line. So it's going to be rounded down. So that 3 is going to be pushed down to 0. So my answer is 4,700. Let's look at number 2. Round 52,061 to the nearest 1,000. So I'm going to look at my 2. That's my 1,000 column. And then I look at the digit beforehand, 0. And 0 is clearly over here on the lower half of my number line. So I'm going to round down. So everything, including the hundreds, is going to be rounded down. So that 6 and the 1, they're all going to be pushed down to 0. So I get 52,000. So I'm going to leave some of these to work on your own, but I'm going to leave number 3 for you to try on your own. Number 4, round negative 3,256 to the nearest 10. Now I ask myself, if there's a negative out front, does that change the way I round? No, it does not. The negative is just there, and we're going to treat it like a normal problem, but my answer will have a negative in it. So let's look at my tens column. That 5, and I'm going to look at 6 digit right here. And do I round 6 up or down? 6 is in the upper half of the number line, so I'm going to round up. So my 5 is going to get rounded up. So I get negative 32. And then that 5 is going to get rounded up to 60. Negative 3,260. Awesome. Okay, let's do number 5 together, and then I'll leave 6 for you to try on your own. Round negative 17,482 to the nearest 100. So 4 is my 100, and I'm going to look at the digit before that, 8. And I'm going to ask myself, am I rounding that up or down? 8 is in the upper half of the number line, so I'm going to round that up. So that becomes, my answer is still negative. And I've got my 17 stays the same, 17,000. Doesn't like where I wrote that. I'm going to write down here, negative 17,000. And then that 8 gets rounded up, so that pushes that 4 up for the hundreds column. I get negative 17,500 as my answer. And this just, it won't let me write on that line, so we're going to skip it. Okay, so we probably felt really good about ones, tens, hundreds, thousand place, but now let's talk about our bigger number places, okay? So here, these ones say like round to the nearest 100,000, 1,000, million. Let's talk about our places. This one right here, that's our ones place, tens place, hundreds place, 1,000 place, 10,000 place, 100,000 place, and our millionth place. So those are our place values. If you can't remember, you can always go back and look in the book for additional or on the internet, but it goes 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, and then every time it goes ones, tens, hundreds, and then it starts again in a new subcategory. So let's round 3,456,891 to the nearest million. So I'm going to look at my millions. Is that 3? So I'm going to look at the digit beforehand, 4, and that's going to determine if I'm going to round up or down. So 4 is on the lower half of the number line, so 4 is going to get rounded down. So I get 3 million is my final answer. Okay, let's look at number 8. Okay, I'm rounding negative 284,739 to the nearest 10,000. So I'm rounding a negative number, so I know that my answer is going to be negative. And I'm going to look at my nearest 10,000. So that's my 8 column. And I'm going to look at the digit beforehand, 4. And this 4 is something that gets rounded up or down. 4 is on the lower half of the number line, so it's going to get rounded down. So I'm going to be left with negative 280,000. Okay, amazing. I'm going to leave 9 and 10 to you. Front end rounding. Rounding is where we estimate a number beforehand, so it makes our math easy down the road. So these are just a little bit of personal preference. It doesn't tell us where to round to, so we kind of have to make our own choice on what we think would be a good number if we were just trying to do some mental math. A parking garage charges $2,385 per month. Estimate the annual cost using front end rounding. Okay, so I'm going to estimate this one. So I want to estimate it tells me my monthly cost, and I want to estimate my monthly cost using easy math. Well, if I'm just trying to do some easy math here, I'll probably just round to the nearest 1,000. Okay, so I'll look at my 2,000 number, and then I'll look at the digit beforehand, and I'll look at the 3 column, and the 3 is something that I'm going to round down. So my answer is rounded down to the nearest thousandth of 2,000. And then that is my charge per month, and it says estimate my annual cost. So if it's about $2,000 a month and I have 12 months, I'm going to multiply this by 12, and I get 2,000 times 12, which is equal to 24,000. And my units for that is dollars. I got to make sure I include units. And again, front end rounding is pretty rough. Number 12, a marathon runner's training log shows 3,847 miles in a year. Estimate using front end rounding. Well, we're just estimating here. It doesn't say what to estimate to. Again, I'm probably going to do thousands on this one, and we don't have to do any math to it, but it just tells us to estimate it. So I'm going to look at thousands, and I'm going to look at the digit before that, 8. So I'm looking at my hundreds and determine if I'm rounding up or down. 8 is on the upper half of the number line, so I'm going to go and round my thousands up to 4,000. And it's a word problem, so I'm going to make sure I include units. And my units for this one are miles. Okay, what went wrong? Each problem contains a rounding mistake. Identify the error and show the correct answer. Marcus rounded 476,500 to the nearest 10,000 and got 47,000. What went wrong? And find the correct answer. Okay, let's take a look at this one. 4,076,500. So nearest 10,000. So our 10,000 column is right here. It's the 7. So look at the digit beforehand, my 6. And 6 is something we're going to round up for. So this is equal approximately. This little symbol means approximately. So it's going to get rounded up. So the 6 rounds up, and it makes that push into an 8. So I'm going to get 480,000. So it looks like they just rounded down when they should have rounded up. Okay, number 14. Sophia rounded negative 3,850 to the nearest 1,000 and got 3,000, negative 3,000. What went wrong? Let's look at my original number, negative 3,850. So I'm rounding to the nearest 1,000. And I look at the digit beforehand. Look at this 8. And 8 is a number that I'm going to round up. Even though it's negative, I treat it in the exact same way that I would round normally. So it's equal approximately to negative, and rounding 1,000 is going to round up to negative 4,000. So I think Sophia just rounded incorrectly, and I think the negative threw her off. So our answer is negative 4,000. Real world applications. The population of Seattle is 749,000 and change, and the population of Bellevue is 151,000 and change. Round each to the nearest 10,000, then estimate the combined population. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to round this one to my 10,000, which is 4, and I'm going to look at my digit beforehand, which is a 9, and 9 is definitely on the upper half of the number line, so I'm going to round up. So that's going to push me to 750,000. And then Bellevue is 151,000 and change. So I look at my 1,000. Oh, whoops. I highlighted my 1,000 digit, not my 10,000. That would have given me a mistake. So I go back and I erase that. And I go, what is my 10,000 digit? That's my 5. So I look at the one before, which is 1. And I ask myself, I'm going to round up or I'm going to round down. I'm going to round down because 1 is on the lower half of the number line. So I get 100. Oh, it doesn't want me to write there. I'm going to have to write down below because it doesn't want me to write in some of the spots. 750,000 and 150,000. Those are my two numbers. And it said, find each to the nearest 10,000, which we did. And then it said, then combine to combined population. Combine in math means to add. We're combining two things into one. So these, I'm going to add these together. You can use your calculator or you can use your mental math. We've got 0, 0, 0 over here. The 0, carry the 1, and I get 900,000. That looks great. Okay, number 16. An odometer reaches 28,763 miles at the start and 31,482 miles at the end. Use the front end rounding to estimate how many miles were driven. Okay, we got to make a choice here. What should we round to? I'm going to say to the nearest 1,000 miles, nearest 1,000. And that's my personal choice. It just looks like a good point, or I could have done 10,000, but I'm going to do thousands. So I look at my thousands and I look at the digit before that. So I'm looking at 7. 7 is going to be round up. So I'm going to round up. So I get 29,000. And then my other one, 31,000 and change. So I'm going to check my 31,000 and I'm looking at my ones. 31,000. Look at the digit beforehand. The 4 and ask myself, I'm going to round up or I'm going to round down. 4 is on the lower half of the number line, so I'm going to round down. So I get 31,000. And then it says that's how much it was at the start, and that's how much it was at the end. So I'm going to label these start and end. And then it says use front end rounding on each reading to estimate how many miles were driven. Okay, so I've got my start and my end. So when I'm trying to figure out what is the difference between the two, and difference in math means subtraction. So I've got two numbers, and usually when I do the difference, I'm going to reverse the order. I'm going to say what I ended with, 31,000, and subtract what I started with, 29,000. So I get 0, 0, 0, and I can do the math over here, and I get 2,000. And this one's a word problem that involved units. The other one didn't really say, it was population, so I'm going to leave it without units. But this one said how many miles, so I'm going to add miles on there. 2,000 miles is approximately how much they drove. And that's it for section 1.5.